Before she ever met him, she was already promised to another man. On her wedding day, her shoes glimmered with pearls. A long veil framed her golden hair, and emerald jewelry sparkled around her delicate neck. The whole look, pure royalty. That glowing bride-to-be was Lily, the young daughter of Count Roland, and she was about to marry into the royal family of the Kingdom of the New Moon. She couldn't wait to show off her dress to her fiancé, Prince Richard Stuart. The maids warned her not to. Tradition said the bride shouldn't see the groom before the wedding. But Lily? She didn't care. She and Richard had known each other since childhood. He was her first everything. First crush, first kiss, first love. Her heart was full of sweet dreams about the life they'd shared, so she headed to the conservatory to find him, and froze when she heard familiar voices. Curious, she peeked through the leaves, and her whole world shattered. There he was, kissing another woman, and not just any woman. Her sister, Bella. Richard's hands were all over Bella as he whispered that Lily was just a boring little girl, and that he didn't want that kind of love. He called Bella his greatest pleasure. Lily's stomach twisted, but the moment was ruined when a flower pot cracked nearby, and both of them turned, faces pale, realizing they'd been caught. Lily stepped out, trembling, demanding an explanation. Bella just smirked. "Why are you meddling in the prince's business, dear sister?" she said coldly. Then she added, "Richard knows exactly what he wants." Lily's eyes filled with rage. She grabbed Bella by the shoulders and shook her, until Bella stumbled backward, pretending to be scared. Richard immediately rushed over, roughly grabbing Lily's arm. "Don't talk to her like that," he snapped. "This marriage means nothing. You should have known that." Then he turned back to Bella, his tone instantly softening. "Come on, stay with us," he said. He leaned in to kiss Lily, but she shoved him away and bit his thumb hard enough to draw blood. He yelled, calling her a psycho, and in his rage, he accidentally swung and punched her in the face, leaving a bruise. Lily burst into tears, threatening to tell the king about his little affair with the witch's daughter. That froze Richard instantly. He knew he was in deep trouble. Slowly, Lily stood, shaking but defiant. "The marriage between the House of Stuart and the House of Roland is over," she declared. She turned to leave, but Bella grabbed her from behind in a crushing hug. "Then I'll make sure you never tell anyone," Bella hissed, before Lily could react. Bella forced a potion down her throat. Lily's eyes widened as the bitter liquid burned her throat. She recognized it, one of Bella's strange mixtures. Her mind flashed back to the day she'd caught Bella brewing potions in the forest. She never thought she'd end up one of Bella's victims. She tried to fight back, but Bella held her down until Lily swallowed it all. Blood spilled from Lily's lips as Bella smirked. "The prince's bride is dead," she announced dramatically. Richard, now panicking, muttered. "Then tie her to a horse and send her into the fields. Let the monsters deal with her under the red moon." And so they did. Lily's body was weak and cold as she was left alone under the eerie glow of that crimson moon. Just when she thought it was over, a massive wolf's paw touched the ground beside her. The beast, eyes glowing red, gently lifted the pale girl into its arms. No one knew what it was planning. The wolf carried her through the snow to a shadowy castle, its silhouette glowing faintly in the moonlight. When Lily woke up, she thought she was staring at an angel. She blinked, confused, thinking she'd died and gone to heaven. But then she felt her heartbeat. She was alive. A maid hovered over her, bowing politely. "You're awake, my lady," she said softly. Lily shot upright, startled. "Where am I?" "My name is Catherine," the maid replied with a gentle smile. "You're safe now. This is Shadow's End Manor. All this land belongs to the Duke." Then, from the darkness of the room, a tall man stepped forward. With a single snap of his fingers, every candle in the castle burst into flame. The light revealed a commanding figure, tall, calm, and dangerously regal. "I am His Royal Highness, Isaac Stuart," he said. Lily's eyes widened. Isaac, the king's younger brother, one of the most powerful men in the Crescent Kingdom. Isaac Stuart. To most, that name once meant hope. He wasn't just the king's younger brother. He was the crown prince, heir apparent, and the kingdom's golden boy. A brilliant strategist, a war hero, handsome, wealthy, the full package. But something inside him shifted. His curiosity for the darker arts pulled him off the righteous path. One day, he simply vanished, shutting himself away in the depths of his own isolation, leaving the entire realm wondering what had become of their perfect prince. Now, that same man stood before Lily, still weak. She climbed out of bed and tried to curtsy in gratitude. "Thank you, Your Highness, for saving my life." But the moment she bowed, her head started spinning. And before she knew it, she collapsed right into Isaac's arms, her face burned with embarrassment. She hadn't even introduced herself, yet he already whispered her name. "Lily Rowland," he said softly. "The poor girl who almost became the prince's concubine." He helped her stand upright with an effortless grace, then studied her face. "The poison and dark magic inside you nearly tore your soul apart," he continued. "You've been unconscious for 2 days." Lily froze. 2 days. That meant she'd missed her own wedding. The reality hit her like a falling stone. Her parents, her family's reputation, everything. Her hands started trembling uncontrollably. And then came the memory of Bella, her sister, desperate, cruel, and smiling as she stole everything Lily had left. Isaac watched her carefully. His sharp eyes seemed to pierce straight through her. "Are you thinking about revenge?" he asked. She looked up, startled. He already knew. Isaac's tone hardened. "Your fiancé and your sister, they betrayed you. They poisoned you with something that devours a person from within. Do you hate them for it?" Lily didn't even have to answer. The hatred was written all over her face. She hated them with everything she had, but she also knew she was helpless. She wasn't powerful, she wasn't cunning, and she had no way to fight back. Seeing her tears, Isaac's expression softened. He reached out and brushed them away with a gloved hand. "Don't hang your head," he murmured. Then, lowering his voice, he added, "If you truly wish to stand against them, I can teach you how." Lily's breath caught. He leaned closer, his gaze locking on hers. "I can show you everything: knowledge, power, control, the skills to take back what was stolen from you. But you'll have to stay here at Twilight Estate." The offer shook her. Part of her wanted to say yes, to grab onto that spark of hope. But the rest of her still didn't trust him. She'd heard the rumors. That Isaac Stewart was arrogant, cold, and unpredictable. Even if he had saved her, he was still a Stewart, a member of the family that ruined hers. She took a breath, steadied herself, and bowed respectfully. "I'm honored, Your Highness, but I'm already engaged. If I stay here, it will cause a scandal." Her voice trembled slightly. "I need to speak to my father first. My mother must be sick with worry. Please, take me home." Isaac's eyes narrowed. For a second, he looked genuinely taken aback, even insulted. But then, with a sigh, he nodded. "As you wish." Relief washed over Lily's face. She hurried past him, ready to leave. But before she could take more than 2 steps, his hand shot out and caught her wrist. "You plan to wander the wastelands in your nightgown?" he asked dryly. Lily froze, suddenly realizing. She was still in a silk gown, practically see-through in the firelight. Her face went red. She spun away, clutching her chest, completely flustered. Isaac groaned quietly and turned to the maid. "Prepare riding clothes for her," he ordered. "And a horse, even dressed." Lily still looked embarrassed. But as she mounted the horse, a bit of warmth returned to her eyes. She gently stroked its mane, silently praying that this would take her home. Back to her family, back to safety. The wind caught her hair as she rode off through the snowy wasteland. Isaac stood at the gates, watching her silhouette fade into the mist. His expression was unreadable, thoughtful, maybe even regretful. The maid hesitated before speaking. "You're really letting her go, my lord? She's the only daughter of Saint Unju, born under a lucky star. Her bloodline carries the secret to the Rowland family's potion magic." Isaac didn't answer right away. His eyes lingered on the horizon where Lily had vanished. He could still feel it, that strange pull in his chest, the pull of her blood, and something even darker. She held the ability to restore him, to bring back his true face and clear his mind. The maid declared it the only surefire way to lift the curse and return him to the palace. The lord of the manor, however, immediately began calculating how he might exploit her gift. He resolved to have ravens watch over the girl, sending a pair to shadow her movements. When one alighted on his outstretched arm, the man remarked, "We must help Lily when she's cornered." Meanwhile, the girl dashed into the Roland estate, breathless and loud with her return. The sight that met her stopped her cold. A coffin draped in white blooms. She stumbled closer and saw her mother laid inside. The shock nearly buckled her knees. This was the woman who should have stood at her wedding not long ago. Lily collapsed on the floor beside the bier, refusing to accept the truth. Racked with sobs, her mind tried to convince her it was some cruel trick, but the corpse before her told another story as she crouched over her mother's lifeless form. The housemaid stood stunned, paralyzed by horror. Lily demanded to know what had happened. The headmaid shrieked that the killer had returned, and immediately Lily found herself publicly accused of murder. The accusation struck her dumb. She couldn't form a reply. Before long, they had her locked in the manor's tower dungeon. From within the cold cell, Lily banged desperately on the door as footsteps approached. She called out for her father and insisted she was being held unjustly. Falling to her knees, she pounded the wood with bare hands and pleaded to find the person who had murdered her mother. When the hatch swung open and light spilled in, she braced herself, but not for the face she saw. Standing in the doorway was Bella, the traitorous sister, calmly sipping tea. With theatrical malice, Bella tipped the cup out and feigned concern at Lily's screams, offering her a cup in a mocking gesture. Lily confronted Bella with every crime she suspected her of, but Bella only smiled and suggested Lily wasn't meant to be here. She idly traced a finger down her own face and asked whom she had been waiting for. Then she revealed that after Lily fled, he had suffered a heart attack. The news landed like a blow, crushing Lily's fragile hope. Bella announced she had to prepare his medicine and left. Lily squeezed her hands, staring into Bella's eyes, her heart breaking. She warned Bella that fate would come for her for what she had done to their parents. Before Lily could finish, Bella struck her across the face. Her expression turned cold as she informed Lily that her face was plastered across wanted posters, that tomorrow would bring the consequences for the accusations leveled at her. Bella calmly outlined the plan, each step arranged to perfection. As clarity dawned, Lily realized the full scope. Bella and Richard had plotted to eliminate her. Bella relayed Richard's contempt, that he was tired of toying with Lily. She confessed that his true passions were fame and the throne, not her. Lily rose and, in bitter acceptance, admitted she was always the one who bungled their schemes. She demanded to know what her parents had done to the witch that had made her so vengeful. Grabbing Bella by the throat, she demanded answers, reminding her that their father had taken Bella in when she wandered with her witch mother. Lily swore she had always treated Bella as family. Even Bella's mother had been treated as one of them and taught her the healing craft. Bella answered with a cold, incredulous claim. She had given Lily a chance to destroy herself. She was astonished Lily would abandon him merely to make some moral demonstration. In the next instant Bella intoned a spell and the chamber erupted in blinding light. Her eyes flamed green, a lethal power flaring outward that hurled Lily to the floor and pinned her arms to the ground. Bella loomed above her and spat the truth. She had always harbored hatred for Lily, resenting that her mother's love had been reserved for Lily, though Bella's own mother had been a homeless witch. Both sisters had loved Richard, but only Lily's path had been set with advantage. Their father had arranged everything for her while Bella was left with envy. Lily demanded to know why Bella blamed them for what had never been given. Bella turned away and declared that once Lily was gone she would seize everything for herself, even Lily's body. She vanished through a door, leaving the girl ensnared in thorny vines. Exhausted, Lily lowered her head and faced the crown prince. Trembling, she admitted remorse for fleeing when she had. Overcome, she wept and confessed that her heart burned for revenge. A raven appeared beside Lily, declaring that it had heard her desperate wish. It watched her closely from behind, ensuring she couldn't see its full form. As it spoke, the ivy binding her wrists began to glow with an intense light. With a sudden surge of power, the raven unleashed another wave of magic at the vines, its force so immense that the dungeon tower windows shattered instantly. The next thing Lily knew, her hands were free. She blinked in disbelief, staring down at her wrists, realizing the binds had vanished. Looking up, she saw the raven soaring toward her, a glint of metal flashing from the ring on its leg. Intrigued, Lily reached out to examine the strange creature, but before she could, it snapped irritably that she should stop treating him like some pet. The bird proudly introduced himself as Karen Frell, the crown prince's most trusted spy. He had come, he said, under direct orders from his master to retrieve her and return her safely to the estate. It took Lily a moment to fully grasp his words. She immediately asked what his escape plan was, since Bella had surely sent guards after him. Karen scoffed, calling her a fool, and asked what she thought wings were for. Flying, obviously, he said with exasperation. With a swift flap of his wings, he perched on the windowsill and told her no one would be able to catch them. He then barked at her to hurry and climb onto his back. The command sounded so absurd that Lily froze, staring at the bird like he'd lost his mind. Still, she edged toward the windowsill and awkwardly climbed up. When she looked down at the dizzying height, her courage evaporated completely. Trembling, she asked what to do next, admitting she was terrified of falling. The raven told her to trust him and jump, but fear gripped her tighter than ever. Her shaking only worsened when the knights below noticed the missing window shutters. They spotted her immediately and shouted for her capture. In that moment, Lily understood that death awaited her no matter what she chose, so she jumped, deciding she'd rather die on her own terms than face public execution. She squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for the end. But instead of the cold rush of air and the ground rushing up, she felt herself rising. When she opened her eyes, she realized she was riding atop a massive raven, easily the size of a horse. Karen Frell, now in his full monstrous form, urged her to hold tight to his feathers. As they shot through the air, the guards below screamed in terror at the sight of the dark magic. Their shouts confirmed her worst fears. "She's a witch!" they cried. Lily knew her old life was over. She stopped resisting and simply held on, clutching the birds' wings as they darted through the dense forest. After what felt like forever, they reached the Crown Prince's castle. There, Isaac had already arranged for her comfort. Fresh clothes laid out neatly and a warm room waiting. Still, Lily could hardly believe she was so far from home. She wandered upstairs and saw something that froze her in place. The necklace from her wedding that it had once belonged to her mother, the woman she loved more than anything in the world. The emerald pendant had been passed down through generations of women in her family. It was meant to mark a joyful union for Lily, but now it only reminded her of all that had been destroyed. Tears welled in her eyes as memories flooded back. Rage replaced sorrow, and she swore vengeance for her mother's death. They would all pay. Every last one of them. As she was wiping away her tears, the door creaked open. Isaac stood there, his gaze calm yet piercing. "Have you made your decision?" he asked. Lily looked at him thoughtfully, still trying to read his intentions. Without preamble, he declared that from this day forward, she would be the mistress of the Twilight Estate. Startled, she immediately bowed, thanking him for his generosity and protection. But unease filled her. Being associated with a wanted criminal could bring him danger too. Mustering her courage, she asked what he expected in return. Isaac's lips curled faintly. "You're sharper than you look," he said, stepping closer. "I need your blood." Lily's breath caught as he gently took the necklace from her hands and fastened it around her neck. He explained that he had been struck by a curse years ago, and her blood might hold the key to breaking it. Once every full moon, he would need a vial of it to make medicine. He expected her to recoil in horror, but instead, Lily turned toward him sharply. Without hesitation, she reached up and pried open his eyelids, studying the strange color of his eyes. Then, to his utter confusion, she began unbuttoning his shirt. He stood frozen, unsure of what to do as she examined his chest. There, dark markings pulsed faintly against his skin. Lily recognized them instantly, the bonds of the lunar crown. Everything began to make sense. Lily finally understood why Isaac had turned his back on the royal family. Each full moon, he was forced to transform into a beast, and on nights without a moon, he was consumed by unbearable agony. The curse was relentless, designed to drive him to madness and compel him to destroy everyone and everything he held dear. Her chest tightened as she realized that even Karen, the raven, shared in his affliction. Isaac went on to explain that the bird had been by his side ever since the day he bought it from a marketplace years ago. But everything changed when the witch appeared, catching them off guard and striking exactly where it hurt most. Karen bore part of Isaac's curse, binding his strength and preventing him from losing complete control. Had the raven not intervened, Isaac would have turned into a full-blown monster long ago. Since that night, the two had been living in secrecy, cut off from the world. Isaac still remembered the witch's face vividly, as though she had attacked only yesterday. He swore he would make her suffer 1,000-fold for the torment she had caused, gently. He patted Lily's head and remarked that their stories weren't so different after all. To his surprise, she didn't seem frightened by his confession. Instead, she smiled lightly, saying it was a fair trade for the kindness he had shown her. Lily offered to brew some herbs to ease his pain and calm his nerves. Their moment was broken when a servant entered the room with a letter from His Majesty. At that instant, an odd thought flashed through Lily's mind. She imagined her master drinking blood, and her face turned crimson. Embarrassed, she laughed softly and promised not to utter a word about his secret. Lily explained that she only wanted to better understand his symptoms. The maid accompanying her assured her that the bond of the lunar crown was an exceptionally rare curse. She was astonished to hear Lily claim she might have a way to undo it. Lily admitted she lacked much experience, but her skill in pharmaceuticals was strong. She reasoned that her own blood could serve as the base for a cure. With a sly grin, she teased Isaac, asking if there was any way she could repay him for saving her life. That same day, he ordered that a guest room be prepared for her, and Lily was overjoyed. Isaac proved himself a gracious host, giving her a full tour of the estate. That he even granted her permission to cultivate herbs within the grounds. When he led her to a separate room spacious enough for a laboratory, Lily's eyes widened with excitement. She thanked him sincerely, promising to create medicine that would ease his suffering. Isaac seemed quietly pleased watching her enthusiasm. He told her the tour was over and that she could call for the servants if she required anything else. As he turned to leave, Lily felt a sudden urge to speak. Gathering her courage, she hurried after him, asking what he intended to do next. She mentioned noticing the shift in his expression after reading the royal letter and offered to assist him as his ally. Isaac regarded her for a long moment, then turned away, telling her she shouldn't meddle in his affairs. His words stung. She had only wanted to help. Later, as she mixed a potion, she caught her reflection in the glass and reminded herself that she was no longer a princess. Gripping a knife, she muttered that they had only spared her for her blood, deciding to give Isaac what he wanted, and then take what she needed in return. She carried on working. Her thoughts were suddenly interrupted when Karen burst in, sniffing the air and asking what smelled so amazing. When he began gulping down her potion, Lily shrieked at him. It was only a test batch. The room flashed brilliantly, flooding with light, and in an instant, a tan, shirtless man stood before her. Although it proved the potion's success, the shock left her speechless. Her startled scream summoned Catherine, who hurried in with a set of clothes. Karen apologized profusely for frightening Lady Lily. It had been ages since he'd last taken human form. Lily quickly deduced that her blood in the potion was the cause. She warned him that he'd revert to a crow within half a day. Curious, Karen asked if other ingredients could prolong his transformation. Lily said it was possible but would require rare materials. Taking her hands, he proposed they visit the market together to find them. His pleading expression left her little choice but to agree. Before she knew it, he had grabbed her hand and was tugging her along. Lily tried to remind him that she was a wanted fugitive and risked capture, but he only flashed a confident grin, telling her to trust him. He winked mischievously, promising she'd be fine. Eventually, he disguised her in traditional clothing from his tribe, the Fala, and laughed, teasing that she now wore his garments. She couldn't help but picture what the cunning spy might look like dressed as a woman. Soon after, they arrived at a shop selling magical supplies. A young woman greeted them warmly at the door, someone who clearly recognized Karen. He quickly pressed a finger to his lips, urging her to stay quiet, and reminded her that the usual rules still applied. She regarded Isaac's companion with a thoughtful glance, piecing things together in her head. With a small wave, she promised she'd keep everything confidential. Karen explained their connection. Isaac frequented this very shop, and the proprietor had a talent for finding rare ingredients. Her suspicions were confirmed when the shopkeeper produced a crate. Nestled inside were real mermaid scales, a potent reagent for certain brews. Karen rummaged in his pocket, announcing he'd cover the cost, and drew out a heavy pouch of gold to prove they had no shortage of funds. At that moment Bella swept into the store, also hunting for the same scales. The sight of her sister sent a cold knot of dread through Lily, and she instinctively hid behind her shawl. Bella's gaze cut across her like a predator sizing prey. Curious how a mere maid from the Fala could afford such rarities, without hesitation, Bella snatched the vial from where Lily held it and sneered, suggesting the girl was concocting a love potion. Boldly, she produced a coin and offered to pay twice the asking price. Karen muttered under his breath that he wanted to rearrange her face, and Lily trembled as she whispered that the mixture she was preparing was something far darker. Karen had no clue what she was making. He just jeered. Lily explained in low tones that these components were used to craft an elixir that broke a person's mind and reduced them to a puppet under another's command. She guessed Bella intended to brew it for their father. Resolving to foil her, Lily snatched the vial back and, with practiced stealth, scattered some of the powder backward toward Bella. The witch spun around in fury. Lily feigned innocence, claiming she'd gifted Bella a bit of rain moth scale powder for stealing from her, an ingredient that would cause a fierce rash on contact. The accusation hit. Bella began to yell and curse, scratching at her skin as the itch blossomed. Suddenly Karen had a blade at Bella's throat, warning that his clan's rules had been violated and making it clear he could end her then and there. Fear flooded Bella as the shopkeeper urged her to apologize to their honored guest. Karen, smoothing his temper into a mock gentleness, demanded Bella kneel and say she was sorry. Swallowing her pride, furious but trapped by social pressure and the proprietor's obvious deference to the Fala, Bella lowered herself to the floor and forced out an apology, each word a struggle. Karen spat the insults one by one, and Bella took them all. Lily told her not to take the words to heart, then extended a hand to the humiliated witch. Calmly, she insisted the mermaid scales be returned. Reluctantly, Bella handed the vial back, mute and humiliated. Lily also instructed that all the supplies Bella had requested be delivered to her castle and ordered Isis, the shop owner, to sell her nothing from that point on. Isis bowed and agreed without hesitation, moving to fetch items from the warehouse. Lily sent a victorious look after her sister as they dismissed Bella. Feeling this was only the opening move, Karen pushed Bella away. She crumpled to the floor, swearing she'd make them pay for this degradation. As Bella watched them leave, rage coiled inside her. She studied Lily's gestures, familiar tics that reminded her of the girl praised for grace and poise. Meanwhile, Richard's revelry with other women came to an abrupt halt when Bella burst in. She ripped the bandage from him, eyes burning, and he snapped at her, scolding her for coming without permission. Bella broke into tears and tried to apologize, but he only scolded her more harshly.